What is going on, everybody? My name is Justin Fensterman, along with the James Grande, and with 5 games on the DFS NBA slate, it's time to dominate. Let's go over the Fantasy Alarm DFS NBA playbook for tonight's short slate, written by my guy James Grande over here at the_real_Grande on Twitter. What's up, Jimmy Grand? You ready?
I'm ready, and Fancy, the answer is the ceiling. Is what's up.
Because you know why? That's what it's going to be with our bank accounts. Oh, look at that. Threading the needle right there. You can't see that. Let's talk about some of the injuries heading into this short slate. Damian Lillard dealing with an ab strain. He's going to be out. Trey Young still questionable with a calf injury. LeBron, Anthony Davis, Ben Simmons, all probable. Victor Oladipo now getting the rest after John Wall got it last night, so he's going to be out. Jonas Valanciunas is still out with the COVID. Gary Harris, PJ Dozier still out for Denver. We just got this piece of news. Eric Paschall, he is going to be out with knee soreness. And then you have Derrick Jones Jr., David Nwaba. Derrick Jones Jr. is out. Nwaba right now questionable, Grande. So this is good. We don't have a lot of injuries we're really dealing with right now. However, something that you, me, and John Impemba, who's producing us tonight, that was just talking about, Kristaps Porzingis. What's going to happen with him, man? Because I wasn't sure whether or not he was going to rest. Have you seen an update? Because I saw that back in early January, even though the Mavs were desperate, he did play in a back-to-back. Any chance he suits up, or you think that he's going to be sitting out?
Yeah, it's something John and I talked about on the podcast last night, because during that time, that was when Dallas was overran with COVID, and everyone was out and everyone was injured, and they didn't really have the available bodies to not play Porzingis on that back-to-back. They do have everyone back, everyone healthy tonight. He is not currently listed on the injury report, so that's where we stand. Could that change? Yes, we have 2 hours till roster lock. So obviously, the mad scientist Rick Carlisle could just decide one day that, he'd rather have Porzingis sit, and just for precautionary reasons.
Please don't. Please don't. Can I put a prayer in? Please don't. It's a great price point. It's a great price point. It's an amazing matchup. They have no one, the Warriors, that can contain him.
Yeah.
Put him out there for 25 minutes, coach.
Yeah.
Come on, 25. I'll pay the $7K plus for him. Please, just give him 25. That's all he'll need. He'll have that third straight double-double in 25. Just give it to him, please. It's an easy matchup for him, Grande.
I hope somebody sends this to Rick Carlisle, whether it's an email, whether it's a text, whether Rick Carlisle probably doesn't even have a cell phone. He probably has he probably still pushes buttons. It's a flip phone. That would be my guess what Rick Carlisle has. But yeah, I mean, I'm obviously there with you.
It's so good, man. Yeah. It's amazing. I had tears in my eyes when I was making the starting five, because I'm just like, that price point, man. And he's probably not going to play. And it's a great matchup for him, Grande. 25 minutes, coach. Come on, coach. 25. You think that's not going to happen, Grande? You think at the end of the day, this was all for nothing?
No, I'm just sorry that, for your tears. That's all.
All right, well, let's talk about someone that's going to benefit even more if Kristaps Porzingis sits, and that's starting with the point guard spot for this 5-game slate. And got to talk about who your pay-up options for, because when Luka's on the slate, especially in this matchup, how do you feel? And I'm glad that we can start here with Dallas and the Warriors, because here's the thing with the Warriors. There are certain parts of the backcourt with them in the midcourt where you can't attack them. And then there are others where you can. I feel like at the point guard spot, you can attack them, but I feel like you don't really want to mess with Wiggins too much. How do you feel about regularly attacking the Warriors? And when you got arguably the most dominant player playing against them, how you feel about paying up?
I mean, if you're the Warriors, you can always cross-match with Wiggins just guarding Luka, because, Josh Richardson, you're not giving up much size with Steph Curry guarding Josh Richardson. So I think that's an option they have. And that would obviously be a little more concerning. But I actually like Luka when Kristaps is playing, because it just takes more off of his plate and there's more of a balanced attack. He actually averages more fantasy points per game with Kristaps Porzingis on the floor. So I want Porzingis to play for Luka's sake. Either way, it's very hard to ignore the spot. It's very hard to ignore this game total that is now up to 229 after starting at 224. So I have a lot of interest in Luka. I have a lot of interest on the flip side in Stephen Curry as well, because Dallas, who started off the year extremely, like, defending point guards extremely well, have been gashed lately. And honestly, matchups sometimes don't matter for elite players. And Stephen Curry just proves that generally for the last however many years he's been in the NBA. When he gets going, and it does not matter who is on the other side of the floor.
And I'm glad you say that, and I want to bring this up because you and I on the side have been having a lot of conversations lately about DVP and usage rate. We've been just kind of going back and forth, and there are just going to be some players that, like you said, and that's the key, that they're just going to beat the matchup because they're just that good. It's kind of like when you have a wide receiver in the NFL who's just amazing, like a Devontae Adams, and you're wondering why he's beating some of the best corners in the game. It's just because he's freaking the best at his position. Right. There are just going to be some athletes that are matchup proof in all sports. So he's one of them in that regard. So I'm with you, Grande. I feel like it's very important because everybody gets so fixated on the specific stat, and then they get too caught up, and it takes them out of a great opportunity for a stud.
I mean, I do think there are, like, and there's merits to both sides of the coin, you know, because there are matchups that you see and you're like, your eyes are popping and you're salivating at the mouth. And obviously this is not one, but on a 5-game slate, if Stephen Curry goes for 70 fantasy points and you don't have him, it is very hard to make up those points where, like, if it's a 10-game slate like last night, you get 5 guys going for 60, like, you know, your odds of having one of them are greater. So I think in tournaments especially, like, your best interest is to get some exposure to Stephen Curry tonight.
Let's talk about the mid-tier right now, because I want to bring up something, and please don't be mad at me, John Impemba, when I'm bringing this up. But, you know, Impemba and I were going back and forth on John Wall before, worried about minutes with him. And I just think that this matchup is really, really good. And yes, with no Oladipo, I understand that things don't change drastically, but still with the price point as well and being it's a 5-game slate, I don't think, kind of like with Porzingis, I don't think in this matchup he would need a lot of playing time to fill up the stat sheet from at least 3 to 4 categories: points, boards, dimes, maybe steals as well. Give him 25, 28 minutes, and I'm fine with that price point. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Memphis is a bottom 10 team against point guards as well. So the matchup is there. The game environment is there. It should be up-tempo. Yeah, I like the price point as well. And we've seen in his last 4 games where we've only seen one of those games top 26 minutes, he's put up 35 or more DK points in all 4 of those contests.
Right.
So the production has been there. If it just so happens we get a full complement of minutes because Houston did play last night, maybe, you know, they aren't able to go 35 or everyone's able to go 35 and Wall is, I mean, then we're talking about a guy who has 50 fantasy point upside without Victor Oladipo. So
it's 6,900.
Yeah.
It's a 5-game slate. You want these guys. Look, I mean, at the time when I was tinkering with lineups earlier, Ben Simmons was the first naturally to come to mind because it was Portland. However, when I saw that maybe he was a little bit banged up and was unsure, I then immediately went to John Wall thinking, okay, at least he's fresh. At least I have that on my side. And John Wall, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, he's one of the fastest players baseline to baseline in the NBA, correct?
Oh, yeah.
When healthy, of course. When healthy.
Yeah.
Few and far between these years. But that means that he's a pace changer. And that, I like that. And I'm fine with that because he's going to be able to get to the basket, which means I don't need to sweat 33 to 35 minutes for him, even with Oladipo out. If he can hit that 28 at this price point at 7,500 and 6,900, I'm totally fine with that, James. I'm all in.
Yeah, and you bring up Simmons, like, Wall is putting up similar production to Simmons at $1,400 cheaper. So
right.
It's kind of a no-brainer to, like, pivot off Simmons. Plus, I do like Portland Philly. I want to preface this by saying I do like that game as a sneaky GPP stack, even from the Philly side, because I think everyone is going to focus on Portland because they have so few healthy bodies. I just think we're overpaying Simmons for a potentially 30-point lead into half, and then you don't see him in the fourth, or you don't even see him for half of the second half. You see him like 6 minutes into third checkout. So I definitely think that has to be a consideration too. Ben Simmons not in play for me. John Wall, John Morant, Mike Conley, this next tier of point guards, definitely above as my dog.
Oh, my dog. I mean, you said Mike Conley. I mean, who has a better matchup tonight than Mike Conley, right?
Right. And it's interesting too because it doesn't. If Trey sits, I'm less bullish on Utah if Trae Young sits. I think because I don't. Again, it's another game that I don't feel can stay competitive if there's no Trae Young.
And I agree. If your dog's consistent with you, then I definitely agree with that, Mr. Grande. Okay, fine. We're moving on to shooting guards. Stop heckling us, please. Jeez, everyone's a critic, Grande. Because someone I have in the starting five, we just talked about Mike Conley. I like the Donovan Mitchell side of it. I mean, again, I like the price point with this, and I know that he's still going to be bringing up the ball. Not only that, he's not just a scorer. So with that, going up against Atlanta, and also I just love attacking Atlanta. It's just so much fun, and he can get it done all over the court, plays deep into games. Under 8K, short slate, I'm cool with Donovan, the Spider Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, I like the spot. The spot is undeniable, but again, if there's no Trae Young, can we get away with playing Donovan Mitchell at 8K if this game doesn't stay close? Utah has been arguably one of the three best teams in the NBA this year. They've lost one of their last 10 games. It was a very good competitive game against Denver. That Nikola Jokic just clearly was, just reigned supreme over everybody. But like, I don't know if Atlanta is good enough to keep it close without DeAndre Hunter, without Trey. If Trae Young were to sit, without Trae Young, without Bogdan. We don't know if Gallinari is going to play in a back-to-back. That's another guy that could potentially be scratched later. He hasn't played over 20 minutes since returning from his injury. So,
damn, you're making Cam Reddish sound very good right here.
I mean, yeah, but like again, he hasn't played well. Utah defends very well. I like Mitchell in tournaments. I do, but I won't go any further. I wouldn't play him in cash, especially if Trey's out. But at that same token, shooting guard sucks tonight. So
it does.
If you want to spend up on Mitchell, that's fine.
I got to ask you about someone else in the playbook before we move on to the threes, because this is someone who I actually think is in a very intriguing play. Josh Richardson. And I'm going to put this out there. Tim Hardaway Jr., who's a little bit more expensive, he also intrigues me. And here's why. Hardaway's going to be playing with the second unit against the Warriors' second unit. I like that, number one. But number two, in a short slate, when you've got someone under 5K, if you're telling me, Grande, that Josh Richardson is going to score 16 points, grab 5 to 7 boards, maybe help you out with a steal too, and maybe a couple of cheap assists, I am totally fine with that. And we are going to make money off this guy tonight.
Yeah, and just cherry on top, he's playing massive minutes. He's not coming off the floor. Yep. So, this is kind of the guy we thought we were going to get with Dallas at the beginning of the year. Like when Porzingis was out, we were like, oh, Richardson's this number 2 option because we know Hardaway's inconsistencies. There will be nights where he's good. There will be nights where he's not even on. Basically, he's not even on the court. But I do think there is some merit to playing Richardson. I also think Hardaway always in play for tournaments, especially on this small slate. But I definitely prefer $800 savings in Richardson when he's been the one that's really coming on. 40 and 32 fantasy points his last 2 games, 11 plus shots in 3 straight. You gotta love the fact. That's the important
thing, Grande.
Yeah, yep. He's being more aggressive offensively, and we know, he actually could be a good correlation with Luka, because Luka, we know, like, what do we play Luka for? We play him for a triple-double upside, right? Those assists are going somewhere if for whatever reason Porzingis does sit, or not for whatever reason, but if Porzingis does
He
Right.
owns the elbow tonight if Porzingis sits. And when even thinking about this, I didn't even consider it. I put both of them in the starting 5 tonight. And not even thinking about that if Porzingis sits, how much sweeter that will be for Richardson. He will literally, when I say he owns the elbow, for those that don't understand the terminology, he's going to be just standing at the elbow when Luka draws 2 or 3 guys in the paint. He's going to kick it out to him because he's a good passer, and he's going to have a high percentage shot. And he's going to have another and another high percentage shots all night from the elbow. And you know what happens, Grande? Let's say one of his shots ricochets hard off that back rim. Boom, long rebounds. There's our 5-7 that I'm expecting tonight.
Yeah,
I'm too excited about this play. I don't know why.
I mean,
if it fails, I might just be crying in the corner.
You could just blame me because he was in my playbook, so I'll take all the. Well, he's in your starting 5 too, so we have to.
He has like 0 points, 2 rebounds in 26 minutes. I'll be just sitting there listening to a dashboard confessional or something like that. Just.
Oh, you must have not played Keldon Johnson last night, so I know exactly how it feels. Trust me, I played Keldon Johnson. He had negative fantasy points at half, so. Yeah, I mean, I'm ready for it, Josh. If that's what we want to go with,
man, let's not talk about that. Let's just move on to small forwards, please, before I get very, very sad. What direction overall do we go with the 3s? Because you said the 2s were hard. I thought the 3s were hard, and clearly from the starting 5 because I extended Richardson to the small forward spot. So clearly I went with the cheap way out. So where do you feel you're going with small forward tonight?
So I do think small forward is tough, and I think popularity at the top is going to be with LeBron. Although I really don't like paying 10-7 for him on FanDuel. At least he's more the price I can stomach on DraftKings because there's always the potential for double-double, triple-double upside. And it's a pretty good matchup. Denver does struggle at that small forward position. Barton, Michael Porter Jr. Subpar defenders.
Right.
I just don't want to pay 10-7, but because we have to play 2 small forwards on FanDuel, I could see myself getting there. Tobias Harris moved back to small forward on FanDuel. Again, I kind of feel similar fashion to Ben Simmons, where you can play Harris, and I like this game quite a bit. I think it's interesting, but $8,000. He hasn't flashed upside at that price. He's been consistent, but I don't think we need to do it. So I'm looking at this mid tier, and Bojan. If Trey Young plays, I have more interest in Bojan. He's been good, 18 plus actual points in 3 straight, 29 plus fantasy points in those games.
Michael Porter scares me, bro. I know you're getting
but
it scares the hell out of me, man.
The one thing you shouldn't be scared about Bojan is his offense, and the peripheral stats are definitely up and down always. His peripheral stats are not consistent, but I mean, he was a 20-point per game scorer last year with this Utah Jazz.
I know, I have to sell my soul for 3 rebounds, Grande.
It's more of a concern when it's 6K plus, and I know it's close, but we're getting there. He's given us 29 plus fantasy points, and he got there last game in less run because they didn't need him against Detroit. He was kind of will we put him back in? They're getting close. No, we'll keep him out. Detroit doesn't have a chance to get back in this game, but he's still got us there with only 18 actual. If we're getting 25 actual, the shots falling, I like Bojan. I also will go with the Denver guys, and I think Will Barton is perfectly fine for all formats. Generally, I'm not a Will Barton guy, but there's no Gary Harris, there's no PJ Dozier. He'll see run at the backup too, as well as obviously starting at small forward because Monty Morris is the expected shooting guard tonight.
Right.
So, Monty Morris still has to back up point guard. So there's going to be run at both positions for Barton. But that also opens up run for Michael Porter Jr. And if this game were to kind of start straying away from Denver, I mean, talk about a tsunami-filled guy full of offense. Michael Porter Jr. can get you that T-Mac 9 points in 6 second type feel. He's that talented offensively. So I could see a case being made for Michael Porter Jr. in tournaments, especially 5,500 on FanDuel is okay, if Michael Porter Jr. plays 30 minutes in this game, and this is a competitive game, I mean, we're talking about a ceiling of 40 fantasy points, and
You
that
were
would.
you worry whether or not the Lakers can close the lane down on him though?
Well, we're talking about a guy who's also shooting very well from three.
Right.
So whether or not he's closing the lane, Fency, he's shooting 50% from three. So like that's the diversity of Michael Porter Jr.'s offensive game. Like he is so well rounded, whether he's going to the rim or he's shooting, whether LeBron is stuffing his drives, whether Davis is at the rim, he doesn't need to go there. He can shoot and make 5 threes in a game, and you're like, holy crap! Like, why doesn't this guy play more minutes? So, John and I are well documented Michael Porter stans, but like, I would never take my stan into my DFS research because it doesn't mix. I think there's merit to playing Michael Porter Jr. in this matchup because Dozier and Harris are both out. We had Harris for half the game their last time they took the floor, so like we have somewhat of a sample, and Porter Jr. didn't really play, but they're going to need offense tonight if they want to beat the Lakers. So I'm all aboard the Michael Porter Jr. Train, and then Toscano Anderson on FanDuel is a small forward. He'll be chalky. He'll probably start at power forward, center, whatever positionless basketball the Warriors are going to play tonight. And then Rodney Hood, Carmelo, both in play, both interesting. Hood really cheap, 3,700 is just kind of ridiculous for considering how well he played last game. And I'll even throw Kent Bazemore into the mix too. Now that we know Eric Pascal's out, I think Bazemore could see a little extra run, maybe 22, 23 minutes, and I think that's more than enough at his price tag.
Yeah, I'm looking at who's going to be active for the Warriors, and I can't
Singer!
stop. Exactly. I know why your hands are raised, baby. I know why. You're going to steal the thunder? You're going to let me say it? You're going to let me say it?
It's all you.
Kristaps Porzingis is going to play tonight, Grande. 25, baby. Give Daddy 25 minutes, and boom, we're getting that double-double. What do you think about that?
I mean, if he's playing, he's not playing 25. He's playing 30 minutes.
Ooh,
that's right.
Love it.
He'll play 30 minutes tonight.
I mean, the price point's amazing. It's too good to pass up. Just go tinker. Enjoy. Happy tinkering. For those that don't want to relish in the Kristaps Porzingis excitement, where else should we go when it comes to the fours tonight, Grande, via your playbook?
Boy, that was a great transition into that was good timing, huh? Anthony Davis, I think, is always an interesting tournament play. He's been very underwhelming from a fantasy perspective this year, but I mean, this is one of the best players in the NBA. So whether, again, it's the Steph Curry argument, just insert Anthony Davis. If Anthony Davis gets going against one of the best front courts, at least defensively in terms of fantasy points allowed, I mean, it's Anthony Davis, and we have that extra bonus on FanDuel. He's great in defensive metrics and in steals and blocks, so I prefer him over there. I'm going back to the Christian Wood well. He let me down. He had a massive first quarter last night, massive, and then did literally nothing, Fensty, for 3 quarters. Well, 2 because the game was out of hand. But I've been on the board, on the records touting against Memphis centers. I loved Miles Turner the other night. He went for 50. I love Christian Wood again here on this back-to-back. Memphis has Tillman and Gorgie Jang starting as their 2 centers right now. Christian Wood is so athletic, and he is going to torture them on the offensive glass.
So bad.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. And I'm not saying that those 2 are bad offensive options or DFS options themselves, but defensively, Wood should have no problem. And he's not going to be owned. Let me just preface it by saying nobody's going to play Christian Wood. I think in a tournament, he has 50-plus point upside. And then I think the power forwards, like the value gets interesting. Because Draymond still not shooting well, but giving us peripheral stats.
Right.
In a really good spot if he's starting at center. Because Dallas has really given up a lot of points to opposing centers in terms of fantasy production this year. I want more offensively from Draymond, but it doesn't seem like we're going to get that right now. Obviously, it's possible as they continue to be depleted. Fensty, Massive breaking news. Trey Young ruled out.
Oh.
So we are on power forward. We know Trey Young is out. We know that DeAndre Hunter is out. I mean, first off, do you think that Atlanta can keep this game close? And if you do, how much exposure to John Collins do you want now that Trey Young is out?
I do want a little bit more John Collins. I do. And playing a little bit better, I'm still going to go in there anyway. I'm going to view it as a volume play. I know it's going to cost, but I'm still going to go in it now that Trey Young's out. I mean, they've got a few guys out. So why not? What do you think? You think it's too risky?
I mean, I think it all comes down to your view on this game and whether or not you think that Rajon Rondo starting at point guard with Huerter, Reddish, Collins, Capella can put up enough points on a very stingy Utah defense. It's at 8 right now. The spread is at 8 in terms of in favor for Utah. That was before the Trey Young news. I'm interested to see where that moves to. I don't know. I think all these Atlanta guys are tournament plays. I think Rajon Rondo is in play for tournaments. I think John Collins is in play for tournaments. I mean, Kevin Huerter, I think you have to take a look at. He's going to get an extended run.
I got a question. What about Clint Capella? I feel like Clint Capella is a little too expensive, and if he's not going to score, that's a little bit of a problem for us.
Yeah, damn it. I don't.
Sorry, I can't pay $8,700 for 10-13.
Right. So, thank you. That's where I am, and that's where I've been since this Clint Capella price tag has spiked the way it has. And I get it. He warranted that price tag earlier in the year. He gave us multiple 20-20 games. He gave us a 10-block game. I mean, there was a lot of, merit to the price tag, but we haven't seen that in 5 games. I don't want to pay it.
And the only reason why that price point is still high is because he's grabbing a ton of boards.
Right.
He's grabbing 13 a game.
I'm not going there, Fancy. I would play Rondo. He, in terms of Atlanta priority, he's probably, I think Collins, Rondo are 1 and 2, and then I'd probably go Huerter 3, and I'd probably go Capella 4 in terms of priority. And then Reddish probably 5. But again, I don't know if any. I guess Rondo in cash, he's 3,400. Even if So they kept it close against Milwaukee the last time Trey Young sat, and Rondo played 30 minutes. That's why I think he's probably the top priority here based on price point.
Agreed.
You probably want your Rondo exposure. But I think if this game stays close, John Collins has a lot to do with it because he's $6,900. Oof. On FanDuel, at least, he's $6,900. So more we talk through this, I'm happy we are. As I know we're running a few on time, but I think this is obviously important news that we need to go through. The more I kind of like Atlanta because price points. It's more price point, like Rondo 34. Collins under 7K on FanDuel. Let's see. Kevin Huerter is $4,500 on FanDuel.
He was tagged. He may not be 100%.
He's playing. I
know he's playing, but still might not be 100%. I mean, look, if we're talking value, I'd rather go with the cheapie with Rondo, right?
Yeah, but I think on FanDuel, you could probably play them both because they're both free. I mean, Rondo 43, Huerter 45. That allows you to get Steph Curry. That allows you to get Jokic or Embiid. That allows you to get Anthony Davis or LeBron at small forward because we know it's the scarce position. So I think I think there's merit to playing both personally. So honestly, I like the price points at Atlanta. I think my stance has changed, and if that's the case, you kind of have to change your stance on Utah because you're playing Atlanta, hoping they keep it close because you like their price. I kind of like Utah. Long-winded. I like both. I like this game. I like this game.
Wow.
I'm in.
I feel like I just went on a round trip somewhere. I took a round trip ticket somewhere with all
I'm
that.
in, Fency. Let's go. Atlanta, Utah. All aboard, baby.
You sure you're in at this point?
No, I'm out. I'm back out. Back out.
Well, are you in or are you out here?
I'm in. Let's go to center. Let's finish it up at center. Let's go.
Wow, my brain is fried. At center, what are you thinking if you're going value here? Because
so Atlanta at if we're talking value, I mean, you can play Cantor. I think if you think he could stay out of foul trouble against Embiid, and if you think he's the reason that they keep this game close, I think you can go Gorgie Jang.
Oh, I'm 100% going Gorgie Jang. And you know what? How about this, Grande? I know that he's over 5K on FanDuel. I will fall on that sword if he fails tonight. It's a good spot. It's a great. I mean, Christian Wood, don't get deceived. He may put up a lot of stats, but he also lets up a good amount as well. They don't really have any other options. All this guy needs to do, and here's why, and I said this because in the starting five video, I put him in there because last game, don't look at last game. Look at the game versus the aging front court that the Spurs have. He beat them twice, back to back. That's what I'm expecting tonight. Same minutes, similar production. That's a more comparable front court versus front court, at least in my opinion, from what I've seen from both, and it makes me comfortable paying for him on both sites.
So the only dilemma that I'm facing, and it's primarily with Memphis from top to bottom, is what the hell are they doing with their minutes distribution? And that's the problem, because we're running into this situation where D'Anthony Melton is playing more minutes than Morant, and Gorgie Jang is playing more minutes than Tillman, and Desmond Bane is playing as many minutes as Kyle Anderson and Dylan Brooks. Now, they have been in 3 blowouts, but all of them have been playing minutes in the first half. So what would the minute distribution look like in a competitive game? That's my argument. That's my issue.
I don't think for Jang it matters. I don't think that he has a huge ceiling.
Well, I'm not saying, like, if it's a competitive game, does Tillman – we've seen Tillman play 28, and in those games where Tillman's played 28, Jang was at 19-20. So if we're not getting the 23, 24, 25, because those minutes matter. Like, those 4 or 5 minutes could be 2 blocks and a 3, which on FanDuel is 9 points. So I think it matters if it's 19 versus 24. And I don't know why. I don't know what it is and what it's going to be. I think this game is going to be competitive. I really like this game. And I do like Gorgie Jang, and I'm not saying I don't. I have him in my playbook. It's tournament only for me because I can't trust those minutes the last 3 games, because if it's competitive, will Xavier Tillman be the one on the floor getting the minutes that Gorgie Jang got? I think it is, and that's why I think Tillman is safer than Gorgie Jang, but I do have Gorgie Jang interest in tournaments. And then one more name, speculative play. They have like 9 guys healthy, and if this game completely is a dumpster fire, which is obviously a possibility with no Dame, McCollum, Nurkic, and Joel Embiid playing, Harry Giles, who is a fantasy point per minute monster when he gets his opportunity.
When he gets his opportunity. That's been the career of Harry Giles thus far.
It has been.
Yes, seriously. I'll just say this, when it comes to Gorgie Jang, if you are going to play him, my expectation for Gorgie Jang is not, I'm playing him, he's going 30. My expectation is 20 to 23 minutes, and I'm thinking of it as a volume play. And by the way, what this all comes down to in this Houston-Memphis game, whether or not John Wall is going to be a freaking idiot with the ball and take stupid, herky-jerky shots, or if he's going to be smart and actually attack the rim every single time, because that's how you beat Memphis. Hopefully the coaches tell him that. Hopefully they're watching the stream. He's James Grande at _real_Grande. I'm at Fensty Sports. Get in the chat, fantasyalarm.com. Get into win. We're always here to help you. Let's dominate. Let's crush it. It's 5 games to dominate. Let's get it, James. Always good being with you, and to all of you,